just dropped Oliver off to daycare and headed home to get started on the workday. It's been a few days since I got a chance to video journal. Haven't been feeling 100%, just a little bit unwell, kind of like the malaise, and so it's been a struggle just to stay focused on work and get through the day. So like even thinking about trying to work in the video journaling with Oliver's pickup and drop off and getting him ready and things like that while working was difficult. So just didn't do any of it, but feeling so much better now. Been getting a lot of sleep and staying focused on getting work done. So feeling good. With Reforge, we are deep into the application process, application review, and I think we probably have about 1,500 more applications to review over the next 5 days or so. And numbers are looking very good. Learning a lot about this process and learning the ins and outs of how to help participants who are trying to apply or trying to pay, but are running into different technical issues. So this has been a really good education on that whole process, and I feel a lot more confident going into doing things like segmentations, going into Help Scout, going into Autopilot, and figuring out the journeys. So it's been really good. On Monday, had a really good chat with Dan about what I can do better to become a better software product manager. And so I actually feel really encouraged about our one-on-one time, and that he takes the time to explain things and to have sort of a vision around what my skill sets should look like after the next year if I continue to push and ask questions and show the desire that I also want to be a better product manager. And it kind of took me back to when I was first interning at Intellectual Property Group back in 2012, I believe. And I had just started working there. It was my first Hollywood internship, and I really was taken under the wing of, I felt like Rashlene Benaviste, who went from IPG, and eventually she was an executive at Warner Brothers and now is an executive at Netflix. I felt like she really mentored me in a lot of ways and taught me a lot about the Hollywood industry and just, how to roll calls, what rolling calls even is, how to do coverage, how to look at the where the prods were, where the overall deals were, how to think about the industry, how to think about television, how to think about managing clients. She taught me a lot about it, and I'm actually very grateful that I worked with her at such an early point in my career, because without that kind of education, I think I would have struggled for a lot longer. And in a way, Brian just doesn't think like that. In all our one-on-ones, we haven't had a real deep conversation on how to develop as a product manager, but I already feel like Dan is pushing me and prodding me to ask questions and to go do my own research into these specific things, like different methodologies, whether it's burn down or agile or sprints, and pushing me to go and do this research into what a product manager does and how to think about our databases. So it's exciting, and I'm excited to learn this skill set and add it to my repertoire. And I think combining that with the psychology and how I think about consumer behavior that I learned from working at I Will Teach and learning from Ramit, as well as my own background in entertainment, it's going to be a nice rounded skill set that will take me into the next part of my career. What else, man? What else has been going on? Just mostly deep in Help Scout. So that's it right now. This morning I already started working on a little bit of stuff for the blog, trying to improve the page without doing too much writing. I have to write the introduction to the newsletter today and send it off to Jack, the VA, and still chugging along on Shogun social media and continuing to build up that system and figure that out. So a lot of little pieces, and excited to keep going. One other thing, had 2 interviews with 2 strategy leads yesterday, and have 1 more interview with a content production person today for Reforge. So hopefully we've made offers to the strategy leads. I think Brian said he was going to do that yesterday, and fingers crossed that we were able to bring on more people onto the team. Yeah, so when I came in, it was more of the what they're hiring for the strategy lead role. So that was sitting down with the subject matter experts and doing the interviews in order to extract the content for the retention and engagement program. So that's when I kind of came in, and I was kind of like the guinea pig for that role. And we did that for the first year. We created that first program. Right now, my role has shifted to become the PM for the live experience. And so the live experience now is kind of like the 8-week course. And as the 8-week course evolves into maybe like a one-day event, into a weekday event, owning all those different components. And basically right now just doing everything that is involved in the live experience. So for example, right now we're just going through applications, getting people into the program and getting them to receive our emails, writing all the email copy, handling the email automation, reviewing applications, sending out their acceptances, sending out their rejections. And then once we go into onboarding, it's like owning all the onboarding as well. And then once we get into once they land in the program content, restructuring our content, because we've kind of restructured the program a bit. So we're moving away from an 8-week program to a 6-week program. So making those changes as well, because it's mostly between Brian and myself who kind of understand all the pieces of the content, since we're the ones that have been in it the most. 4,700 applicants over 2 weeks for these programs, and so now we're just like trying to churn through and whittle it down to the goal is 750 participants. So it's just a lot of review, and it'll be whenever we send out the rejections is actually like, no one feels good about it, but that's kind of not a fun time either, but just needs to be done. We have 3 programs, and I would say that I'd pin it down to like 2 major changes. The first change is moving from an 8-week program to a 6-week program. And the reason why we noticed that is with an 8-week program, once we've hit 4 weeks, that is like the peak of attention. And after that, there's just a huge drop off in like participation. We just noticed there's like this general sense of fatigue as people try to juggle these in-depth courses with their own lives. And like in all the other courses that I've done, and any one of them that has been 8 weeks long, we've always hit a peak at 4 weeks, and it's always just dropped off. So I don't think it's like a Reforge thing. So we're shortening to 6 weeks. The amount of content remains the same, but it's just like the restructure that allows us to get all the content in 6 weeks. So we got to do that across 3 different programs. And then the other major change is each program has 2 live events each week. So it's a total of 6 events per week. 3 of them will be online, 3 of them will be in person. And basically we are changing up we had a part that was a group discussion among peers. And instead of doing that, we're going to be introducing case studies that are led by Brian or the featured guest. So it'll be spending the time to like create these case studies, working with the featured guests to decide what these case studies are, what the questions we're going to be asking for the participants to talk about, and figuring out what the cadence is going to be, because it's going to be kind of our first time with this type of experience. The two things that stand out. Number one, like the content, and what makes Reforge so good is the depth of the content, right? Like if you look out into the marketplace and you see like all the content marketing that is done around growth, nothing even touches the depth of Reforge. But on the flip side of that, it's also keeping in mind that these people are taking these programs while they are working a full-time job and have like all the other things going on with their lives. And how can we deliver the content in a way that we hold on to that quality bar, that depth of content bar, yet at the same time make it more digestible, so that participants are able to get through all of it and retain all of it. A lot of the feedback that I've been getting is that it's just like it just feels like too much. Like they'll go in, they'll look at it, they'll look at like list of lessons, and like holy shit, like I can't believe I have to get through all of this. And I think a lot of it's got to do with our deliverability. I think a lot of it has to do with some of our production. Like we just weren't focused on production value, right? We're focused on offering the highest quality content that's out there. So I think that is a change that we can definitely make. The second thing that comes to mind is the content, and we have so many good stories that are told by our experts, whether it's like through interviews or in the content themselves, where they give examples about challenges they faced at like Gusto, challenges they faced at Pinterest, Grubhub, challenges they faced at Google, at Facebook, whatever. And sometimes it feels like these stories get buried in just like rote examples, and it feels like it could be brought so much more to life. And I think if they are brought more to life and they are featured differently, that it would help stick, and it would help for the participants to retain that information that much better. Right now, it just feels like, it just feels a little rote right now. The biggest roadblock has been this program creation process, and we've taken a few swings at it, and we haven't gotten it quite right yet. And what has happened is that it has led to some roadblocks with Brian having to get over involved on the content development and content creation, and we haven't been able to free him to go just like be the CEO and do other things, right? And so I think basically like all our time right now, all Brian's time is spent on solving this problem, looking for the hires, and finding people who can help unlock him. And once we unlock that and we can develop more programs and have like a regular cadence of program development, I think that's really going to open the doors for building this into a very, very big business. Like the amount of growth with just like 3 programs in our pocket has been insane. So if we can double that, triple that over the next 5 years, I think we're going to see a lot of growth.